are back. Welcome to Talk About It with Charl and Key.
What's happening?
We have a word to share with you.
What the word is?
Take it away, baby. It's
What's
on
the
you.
word? You said we had a word.
We do. This is the word.
Okay,
You get ready to share it.
All right. So we talked about part one about your journey and how you had to do take certain steps to do with Set Apart Kingdom Ministries book, Women's Fellowship, basically prayer walkers and soak and pray all together. So this time we're going to talk about my journey and how it was for me. So basically I do men's fellowship. It's called Man Talk 133, and y'all better join in. 2 men. It's for men only. It's on Zoom for right now. But anyway, the process for me was, all right, so my wife came and told me, she was like, maybe you should do like a men's Bible study, or was it men's Bible study?
It was
men's Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I should do that. And then one of our brother-in-law, he come to me and he said, hey, he texted me.
Where it was time. Let's make sure you tell it was a long time before.
It was a time in between. I'm just giving them the steps.
Okay.
Nobody counts where every exit in between from North Carolina to South Carolina. They just know that they went from South Carolina to North Carolina to South Carolina to Georgia. Anyway, y'all get my point. So he texted me one morning early. It was like 6-7 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what does this guy want? I'm just playing. Now, Mark, you cool, Mark. So I text him. He's like, hey, man, have you ever thought about, have you ever thought about leading a men's fellowship? And I knew then that was the Lord confirming what my wife had said. So my process was, first, I had to get past the moment of fear. That's the first step for me. I had to get past that moment of fear because it does set in. For some reason, when somebody tell you to do something, it seems like we think 1 million people sitting there just looking at us, waiting. You know what I'm saying? Because some people have issues with talking in front of people. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if it's like 2 people on a Zoom or 100 people or whatever. We still have this thing, right? And so I had to get past that. Then I was sitting there and I was just like, what is the name it going to be? So I'm in the shower one day and I was like, Man Talk. And I was like, well, it's got to be more than that, because I'm sure somebody didn't got that. So I'm in the shower and the Lord said, Man Talk 133, and showed me everything of how the name and everything was going to be. The L was going to be a 1, and the 30, all of they showed me all of it. That simple. So my process was, from that point, having somebody do me a flyer. I got a moving flyer, setting up the Zoom, getting, just working through all the little intricate pieces to set up the right time for me to jump start it. And last Thursday just passed was the first one. So now, those were my steps. Everybody else's steps may be different, but that was my step in my process.
Well, and the entire time before that, God had already set up the stage, because he had already said, he had already had me share that with you. And it was probably a year or 2 before he brought it into, fruition, where my brother-in-law came back and said, boom, 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 share that with him.
Yeah.
But what God was doing was drawing my husband in and setting him up. My husband was spending time with the Lord, because it all goes back to relationship with the Lord.
Definitely relationship.
And because he is a visionary, it's natural for him. It's very easy, because it's a gift that God has given him. He was able to sit before the Lord, shower before the Lord, still sitting before the Lord, you know what I'm saying? And then receive that, what God had for him. So God gave him the vision, and then began to give him the provision for the vision, which God is so faithful in that way. He just when he gives us something, so it ties along with our dream big and fulfill. This is our our mini series, because we came up, and I shared this again months ago. I don't know what month it was when we released that dream big and fulfill. God was preparing us. We had already some things on the, started. Like, this has been in the works actually since a little over 2 years. We've been doing this. Talk about it with Charlotte Key. And in the beginning, and we talked to you all about that too, our process. I don't know if you remember, and maybe you haven't heard it, but it's been a process.
Yes.
Busyness will come up, the distractions will come up, and software issues, you name it. But we had to continue to press. And now we're in a new season where God is allowing us to expand even more in different avenues, but still getting his work done. So we want you guys to be encouraged, knowing that if there's something that God has given you, you started it, maybe you put it on the back burner, and God is calling you to restart or rebuild or continue in the building process. Just know that if you continue to press your way, and what does that mean? I'm going to be simplistic. Pressing means stay in prayer. Stay in prayer. Stay in the momentum of prayer, worshiping and seeking the Lord, because it's in that place, that most holy place, where God will begin to strengthen you if you've been a little weary in that area, where you say, oh gosh, I've been here, Lord, and it didn't work out this time. But that's okay. If God is telling you to pick it back up, he's about to blow on it, and it's going to work. He's going to blow on it, and it'll multiply as you put your hands to do it. Do what he's called you to do.
Okay. And then too, the men's fellowship is not the only thing that I've done that was a process. The first one was back during COVID, when I wrote Ministry from My Perspective. And we had took this course in Dallas and Texas in general. And I was like, the Lord has said, I want you to write a book. And I was like, you want me to do what? And then he was just saying, everything you need, you already have.
That's good.
And I didn't get it. So one day I was out studying and seeking the Lord about how to write this book. And then he was just like, hey, you remember the papers now this may be for somebody that already have done this. I mean, wrote papers and don't know what to do with them, think they was just writing papers. So the Lord said, the papers that you wrote in that class, you came up with titles, chapters, basically, and you wrote them. All you need to do is take those and convert them into chapters. Add to it, take from it, whatever you need to do. Just read through it, add to it. And that's what I did. I took those and those papers that I wrote in class, translated into a book. So I'm saying it may be some people that have taken classes at seminaries or just religious studies or whatever, and had to write these papers. They could be books. It could be a book that's right in front of you. That's your work that you wrote, right? So think about that. Just don't take the stuff that you've done and toss it to the side. Then another thing that I did was when I designed my first shoe, right? So I was just like, how am I going to do this? I knew I had the creativity, but I just didn't know how to translate it or whatever into what I needed to. So one day I'm sitting there and I see this image of a sketch like right here. And it was the shoe of how the Lord wanted me to do it. And he gave me step by step on how I'm sitting on the chair one night and I'm taking these pictures. I look it up. He'll give me a name. I take it, screenshot it, crop it. And then I sent it to the person that did the sketch for me, and they knocked it out the park.
Yeah.
They knocked it out the park. So sometimes you got to understand you're not just seeing these things because it's, you know how somebody's shoe will fly away. You see a thing, you be like, yeah, that ain't for me. You never know. I never thought that I would write a book. Never thought that I would design a shoe, more than one. And I never thought that I'd be doing a men's fellowship, right? So you never know which direction God's going to take you, but you got to be willing to go and do it. And you got to be willing to just step out the box, you know, because when you're in this box, ain't so much room in a box. So you got to be able to, you got to be willing to step out. It may sound crazy to everybody else, like, you going to design a what? But that's what God showed me. And I knew then, I was like, I don't care what nobody say. Now, she's been 100%, 1000% supportive. Hey, that's what the Lord told you. Hey, be obedient. And you got to have people in your corner like that, because everybody ain't going to cheerlead you. Everybody ain't going to be your cheerleaders. And you're going to have to, some people are going to be naysayers and say, what are you talking about? And then if you're not rooted and planted in the Lord and believe what he told you, they'll get you off your destiny. So you got to be, you got to be willing to go against the haters and opposition. Because
Pastor was just talking about that today.
Yeah, you got to be willing to go against them, because they coming. No matter how big or how small, you can be one to cut grass. Man, why don't you take the $100 and go spend it on something? Why you gonna spend it on a lawnmower? Because I'm trying to spend money to make money. Instead of spend money on a pair of shoes or give it to somebody at a restaurant, helping them get rich. I'm trying to come up too.
That's good.
So you gotta be versatile. You gotta understand when God is telling you to do something, know that it's God, and then move on it. That's it.
That's good.
That's all I got.
That's all I have. That was really good.
Yeah. So we thank y'all again for joining.
Yes.
Talk about it with Charlotte and Key. And till the next time, we out. God bless.